So in this case, we had to take away, windows and doors because those areas are not being painted. So when you have a room, right, with length and width, I just attribute that to this question. This is my length, this is my width. It's on page 12. And the ceilings are 12 feet high. Then we have a window A that measures 4 by 4, window B 2 by 4, and a door that measures 2 by 8. Chosen flooring is sold in boxes that covers 80 square feet. So every box covers this much, and it will cost 129 plus tax. Primer costs this much, $22.95 plus tax, and covers 36,000 square inches. Now that is a weird dimension to give, right? I agree with you. I did convert that to square feet right here. So basically you're going from inches to feet, but in this case we have squared inches. So we take the fact that 1 foot has 12 inches, square it. It ends up being, 1 foot has 144 square inches. I believe that this was on your study. This could be on your study sheet, right? This conversion rate. I don't know if you added that at one point, but I think I did the very first page of this unit. We did cover that, right? That 1 square foot has 144 square inches. And so then you convert that, and it's almost like now we can say that a primer, right? The primer, 1 can covers 250 square feet. So that's where that came from for one coat. Did I add that later on to yours? Yeah, 1 coat required. So I did add that. The final color paint requires 2 coats, and 1 can covers 250 square feet and costs that much. Did I say only walls are painted? Yes, I did add that. So not the ceiling. So find the total cost after taxes of the flooring and the paint. So I basically used the surface area. This is on page 10, I believe. We went over these formulas. If it's just the walls, right, it's 2 length times height plus 2 times width times height. So this will be the surface area of the walls. I take away window A, I take away window B, and I also take away the door because that's not going to be painted. Okay? And then that collectively gives me 512 square feet. So now I know what needs to be painted. So for the primer, if you go back to your question, you only need 1 coat of primer. So we don't need to multiply the 512 by anything, right? So we figure out how many cans. I already noted that 1 can covers this many square feet. And you end up with 2.048, but as soon as you need more than 2, you need to buy that 3rd can. Okay. For paint, I need 2 coats of paint. So I first figure out 2 times 512, which is this many square feet that need to be painted. I take that number, I divide it by 350 because 1 can covers that much. It ends up being 2.92, which still means I need 3 cans. Okay. Next, for flooring. For flooring, what I did is I just found the area of the floor, which is 13 by 10, length times width, right? This is length times width, which is 130. Oh, sorry guys. You can't see. 130 square feet. And so you figure out how many boxes, knowing that 1 box covers 80 square feet, you divide, it ends up being 1.625, which is approx, right? And you need to buy 2 boxes to make that happen. You can't buy 1.6, so you round up to the nearest whole number. All right? Now let's do the total cost. And this, I don't necessarily need you to do it this way. You could do it in separate chunks and then add it up later. But this is one way of showing what you're doing. So this is my primer, paint, and this is my flooring. So these are the subtotals here, which is 434.70. And I took that and multiplied it by 1.12 to get my after-tax amount. Okay. So try to be as organized as possible when you do these questions. Don't have work all over the place. Kind of just break it down, have a system to it, and label everything. And I'll figure it out. I'll figure out what needs to happen. Another thing I need you to remember about questions like these is, sure, you might make a mistake, but it won't be a zero, right? Like if everything else that follows is consistent, you can still score a significant amount of marks when it comes to these questions. All right? Hope it makes a bit more sense. What we're going to do, I do have an AC for you, but I'm thinking maybe it's better for you to try one more question. I think you're all right with that, not having an AC, right? You're okay with that? Not going to complain? If you go to page 20, I didn't assign that one yet. Another RENOS type of question. And what's different about this one is, if you look at the room, this is an irregular. I'm just going to put that on the heading here. Page 20. Okay. It's an irregular shape. And so we're going to figure out the cost or answer the questions here, which are going to kind of be coming along the same lines here. Okay. I'm going to give you a little bit of time to at least come up with the printable surface area and the total cost of primer and paint after tax. When it comes to flooring, maybe wait for me a little bit. If you read the flooring bullet right here, you have planks that cover 2.15 square feet, and they come in boxes of 8 planks. So there's two things happening here at the same time. So maybe I will do that with you. Unless you want the challenge, you go for it. I won't stop you, but I'm going to give you some time to try A and B. Okay, get your brains engaged a little bit. Figure out. I showed you on page 10 how to work a question like this. Okay, you basically find the perimeter, the distance around it, and multiply it by the height to find the surface area, and then figure out the cost of primer and tax. So consider this your AC. I'm not going to take this in, but I just want to see you work on it, and I'll come by and check up on you. Okay. Some of you need a bit of a shortcut every once in a while. So what you need to figure out is there's the surface area and then there's the surface area to be painted. That's how I would distinguish. So in this case, the perimeter, you would go perimeter times height. The perimeter of this irregular shape is 120, correct? 120 feet times 9 feet. That's the, assume there's 9-foot ceilings. This is your height. Okay. That is your height. And you end up with 1,080. And I'm going to be a little picky here. This is not your final answer yet, but it is square feet, right? I would not take marks off yet, but the final answer should be in square feet. And surface area to be painted, I would go 1,080 minus, for example, you have two doors. There are two doors that are 4.5 by 8, right? Then you go minus 3 windows that measure 5 by 4. And some of you might choose to do this in steps. That's that's fine. I'm just gonna say here that's 1,080 minus 72 minus 60, and that is 948 square feet. This is the number that you really want to pay attention to from now on. Okay, that's what you're gonna have to cover with paint. And so here we go, primer and paint. So if you go primer, one coat, remember that, right? So that means that I can just take the 948 and just divide it by 190, and I get no, sorry, I'm just gonna look at 4.98, 4.98, and that keeps going. So you need approximately 5 cans, right? So for the cost, you just go 5 times the cost of it, which is 65 bucks, and that is 325. Without taxes, you can do it. Some of you want to do taxes right away, some of you want to do it later. It doesn't really matter, right? So for primer, there it is, paint, 3 coats, right? So this is an important concept. Please remember this. You don't want to multiply your cans, your boxes by the number of coats, right? You want to do that right away. So I'll go 948, right, times 3, and that gives me 2,844 square feet. It's almost like you're painting a room this size. Then you take that, and I will, you know what, I feel like sometimes this just needs to be re-emphasized, but some of you would just divide, multiply right away, right? Divide by, in this case, 220, and just multiply this by the price, right? But then you're buying partial quantities if you do that, so you can't. So this gives you 12.92 and something. That's approximately 13 cans. Okay, so the cost would be 13 times $80, and that's where you get your 1,040 for that. And so here it is. Total, I'm just gonna do it like this. Total would be 325 plus 1,040, and I'm gonna multiply that answer by 1.12, and that gives you the 1528.80. That is answering the question right there. So watch for the coats, watch for cans, around your cans or boxes, whatever the case. In this case, it's cans, obviously, but just go with that, okay? All right, let's tackle the rest. Flooring. I'm going to go area of floor, and there's a number of ways you can do this. Let me go up to my diagram real quick. Some of you might say, okay, I need to cut it right here. I'm going to call this area 1, area 2, and just find those 2 small areas. Length times width, I'm talking about no surface area, right? We're not going up height. It's just on the floor. So length times width plus, you need to figure out this and this, okay? What is that? 60? Okay. I guess you can go 35 minus 7, right? That's 28 up here if you want to do it that way. And so 28 times 25, and then 9 times 7. Or you can go 35 times 25 minus this little chunk here. That's always an option. Whatever is easier, whatever you see, you go with. Okay, that's the beauty of math. So 9 times 7 and 28 times 25. Let's see if I can remember that. Pretty bad at remembering. So the area 1 plus area 2, which is 9 times 7 plus 28 times 25. And I I know I need more space. That's why I'm doing it sideways. I'm not a big fan, but it is what it is. And that's 63 plus 700. So it's 763 square feet. And here's the tricky part. Is 763? Is that what we're getting? Yeah, okay. It should be regardless. That's what you get, right? If you go minus or add. And so here's where it gets tricky. You can, this is how I'm going to do it, okay? 763 square feet divided by that weird 2.15 square feet. What am I going to get with when I divide it like this? I'm going to get, what does this stand for? 215 is every plank, right? So I know whatever I get here, I'm going to add plank to it. So I'm actually going to do this with you. 263 divided by 215. 354, 883 and something. I'm not going to round yet. I'm not going to round yet. Where I'm going to round is when it comes to the box, right? So I'm going to say 354.883 divided by 8 planks, right? This is planks divided by 8 will give me boxes. So I take that number. You can just go divide it by 8 on your calculator and take the previous answer. So that's 44.36 boxes. So I'm going to need to buy approximately 45. Well, that is approximately 45 boxes. So I need to purchase 45. This is going to be pretty tight here to finish this off, right? I still need to do the trim. So cost is 45 times 64.50. I'm going to add taxes right away. That's going to maybe be like, what? Why is he multiplying 3 numbers? That's okay, right? You figure out your subtotal and then you add taxes to it. It is okay to do it that way. That gives you 1,624. No, sorry. Don't. That's why you should always wait like a couple seconds before I do things. I was looking at the wrong number here. 3250.80. And please stop me if you feel like I make a mistake, please stop me. Don't tell me at the end of class, right? Remember, it's being recorded. I don't wanna have that out there in the YouTube world. All right. We're almost there, guys. Trim is next. So if you look at trim, what does it say there? Some of you are still writing this down. Go ahead and write it down. It's okay. But if you go up and read the bullet that talks about trim, I'm just gonna go up to that real quick here. New trim will be going along the bottom and the top. No trim needed by the doors. Okay, this is important here. No trim needed by the doors. Trim comes in 8-foot lengths and costs $50 per piece. Do you know what trim is? Most of you at home have a wooden trim, right? But in this room is just that gray little piece at the bottom. And most houses have it at the top as well. Some of you know it as moldings. It's the same thing. But obviously the doors wouldn't have it. So you'd have to take away that piece from the door. Okay? So let's go ahead and do that. We already know what the perimeter is of this room, don't we? We do know that. Perimeter is 120, and I'm just going to multiply that by 2. Right? Because you need top and bottom, same amount. So 240, is this feet or square feet? Feet or square feet? We're not covering an area, it's just like length, right? We're just talking about length in this case. That's what they're sold as. Perimeter is so that many feet. We're going to go minus, and here's where you probably have a good point. Which one should I take away from the door? So if you go back to the door dimensions here, which of these two numbers would you subtract? And I would say, right, go with this one because the door is always taller than it is wide. So I'm going to take 2 of these away. 2, 4.5. I'm going to take that away because that's not being trimmed from my total. So we go minus 2 times 4.5. That's 9, right? So 240 minus 9, that's 231 feet. And what do I need to do now? It doesn't come in feet, right? It comes in 8-foot lengths. So we're going to go pieces. We're going to figure out pieces here. I'm going to go 231. I hope you can see that. Let me zoom into that. I'm going to try there. 231 divided by 8 feet. That's 28.875 pieces, which is approximately, you can't buy partial trims, right? You can't buy moldings that are 0.8 of anything. So you're going to say 29 pieces. Does it say after tax? Yes. So we're just going to do it all in one shot. 29 times $50, and we're going to multiply it by 1.12 right away. I hope you have a bit more room than I do here. And I know I wish I had some of your neatness in my writing. I don't have that. So I apologize for that. That's 1624. And I could now ask, hey, what's the grand total, including everything? Absolutely everything we've done. We would just add, right, what we did in B, what we did in C, and what we did in D. So that's the total cost of this reno. I appreciate all of you trying. I know that you're frustrated sometimes when it doesn't work out, but I think that's just part of learning. I wish I could tell you when I keyed this the first time, it all worked out perfect. It doesn't always, right? But if you catch it and you're willing to change it, you're good to go. All right. So we're getting very close. So try RENOS, what have you, but I don't want you to forget about converting. So homework, if you go to page 16, 1-6, right? I'm just going to say that's a worksheet that I used to give out. So 16 to 19. And if you're able to do, oh, you can't see that, sorry. There it is, page 16, just write this on the top. I will post the key to this. Some basic conversions, some comparing, right? Remember unit rate, which one is the best buy, which is faster, which one is the best fuel economy, stuff like that. Also, where you have to think, is this just converting? Do I just multiply by a factor, or should I set up a proportion? You set up a proportion when they say, you have a rate, and it's like, how far could you go on this many liters? Or, right, when it almost like asking a question, if this is true, and I give you one piece of the puzzle, could you figure out the other part of it? That's it. I'm going to stop there. So if you want to use the rest of the class to just work through that, yeah, go ahead.